Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. And as always, we're so glad to have you here. Today's themes are about authenticity and divine sovereignty. Just dropping into where we want to start here. Because this channel is about bringing through untold stories, sometimes from distant realms, and living in the authenticity of what is, while we unravel the mysteries around what that even means. And today I just want to tell a brief story about how perfection sometimes just falls into the field. And there's many ways to live and experience this human life. And I'm finding that those experiences are very tied to the way we live our life. And we can choose to be in the frequency of divine union, which always allows us the space to slow down and be deeply present with ourselves. But often we are more tuned to the frequencies of, let's just call it the world. The frequencies of the world are very interesting. There are common alignments there with regard to time, lack of, let's call them lack mentalities. I think that's a better way to frame this, because the lack mentalities are really what drive the forces that have been in the driver's seat of the world for so long. And there are those of us that are specifically here to remold and reframe the mechanics of the system so that we can more easily attune to the frequencies that bring us back into that inner divine union as a way to live. I don't want to say default, but maybe we are working that into the default of the system, as opposed to all of the lacks that have been the default for so long. And part of the process of walking that back is not only holding space for a different frequency, not only holding those higher level frequencies, but also noticing all of the areas in which we sense resistance in that process. Because what that ultimately tells us is there's something frequency wise that's looking for an attunement. It's looking for an influence to resonate with, something that resonates at the level of divine union, as opposed to the forces that we see so present in our day-to-day world under the lower vibrational tunings that the world has unfortunately succumbed to while we are in the process of lifting that veil, if you want to call it that. Maybe that's the veil of forgetting. Maybe that's what we're unwinding in this process. But here's a story about walking in perfection. I've gotten to a place in my journey where I just find myself seemingly randomly in locations and places and moving energies. And as I'm moving energy, I'm very much in a space of what's the word? I'm in my center. My presence is centered in the channel of information that I am simply holding a conduit for energies to pass through. And so I guess when I put my conduit hat on, it's a good way to say that. Um, I'm not as innately focused on my surroundings or the smaller details in my field because I'm simply holding presence where I am. And so when I look up and notice things, it's usually a fun little conversation in my head because it's always about laughter and joy, and I love that. Um, but today I had an interesting experience because I'm learning how to drop stress about time. Circling back to lack mentalities, we are walking through the process of consciously overcoming our lacks and our fears. And that's what this journey has been about for me lately. And it's been really fun to witness the self-realizations in that. And even more fun to share my stories with the world. And so thank you for participating with me here and co-creating this. Um, honor and depth of gratitude always. So it's Thursday morning, and I have this new group that meets on Thursday mornings in my time. And so we met last week and we had a really powerful sort of calibration call that we recorded, and it's our first kind of test run at a new let's call it offering that we are co-creating. And so it was a really fun kind of first little get together. And I have a feeling that we're going to be processing some really amazing, really amazing. Oh my gosh, so amazing. It's big. I can feel its procession. Um, So I've been seeing perfection more and more in my field, the more that I tune into these high level passion projects that I keep being called to and guided towards. And so I'm honoring myself in the process. I'm honoring my learning process in the process. And the growth process is everywhere. And so that's also a fun little game to play with yourself on the path. But what I started to say was that every leg of my journey is starting to become almost like its own adventure in a way. And there's never late and there's never anything out of place. It just, when you truly step out of your own way and surrender to divine will, the universe just comes together for you. And I feel so grateful and blessed to be even having this conversation right now. So what I wanted to say about that was the timing was perfect, even though, we agreed to meet at a certain time and, I walked into the building 10 minutes late and, all the things, all the human things that happen, whether it's traffic or getting taking a wrong turn somewhere or whatever the case may be. Sidetracks and distractions are also common on the path as well. And so just honoring the spaces between is also a fun place to be. As well as allowing things to come into alignment in their own way, in their own time and space, and maintaining confidence in the process and confidence in yourself that nothing is wrong and I don't need to worry. And here's all these lack mentalities again. They're sneaky. They're super sneaky. So my meeting this morning was perfect. Everything was amazing. The timing was amazing. We touched base and then had to end the call for a minute and then, reopen the call, and everything's for a purpose. And as I'm walking around and seeing my surroundings, I see, a tour bus kind of drive down the street, and just the little quirky things that you see and you're like, ooh, what is that? Ooh, what do you want to tell me? Ooh, that's fun. And so I gave my friend a tour of my workspace and the area that I hang out as I kind of work through my creative process. And boy, I'll tell you, when you get together with high energy, high vibrational people that really resonate with you, serious magic happens. So I'm on this call, and me and my friend are vibing, and we're walking around, and we're just kind of feeling into the energy that is present. What's present here? What can we see? And just in sitting with that, I saw 10 things that was like mind blown with how just awesome whatever it is that we're doing is so awesome, and it's so big, and that's why it's important for us to allow the pieces to fall into place, because it's so much for a human mind to comprehend. And especially in the world of the distorted mind where there's static is probably the best way I know to describe that. Just engaging in the wonderment in the story is amazing. And as I was walking around giving this tour and feeling into the energy in this space, I saw someone from my past, a very important character from my past, actually, and one that I've been thinking about on a regular basis, because there are contracts at play between me and this person, and contracts that are bigger than us, by the way. And so that's part of why we repelled each other from our fields, was because what's a good way to sum this up? Maybe because we weren't quite ready to step into that phase yet of ourselves, of the learning process, of the relationship, of the contract, whatever you want to call it. But healing pieces of the story, even if it's just in a glimmer of a fractal, really resonates through the whole grand design on such a big level that you can't not do it. Even if it's hard, even if you're not sure, even if you don't think you want to, the honorable thing to do, if you have the tools to raise the frequency of something, you just do it. You just do it. And of course there's sovereignty, and there's, it doesn't have to be a direct, like, this is for you. But I maintain a certain awareness around self-sovereignty and the sovereignty of others, that allows me to send energy in a certain direction without being forceful about its destination, if that makes sense. So what I do is I'll picture a bubble. I'll picture the person's bubble, and I will send energy to the outside of their bubble. And whatever they want to take in, their higher self is going to allow that to drip in whatever way that's most comfortable for them in their highest good, and highest path and purpose. And it's an intention that in the beginning of me doing this process that I consciously held, for just for boundaries sake, for honor and honoring others people's sovereignty and honoring their personal space and their energetic field. Like, I'm not trying to invade your space. But when I see that something's needed, I can't not send it and still feel good about my own integrity if I'm here to clear those things. And so my workaround, if you will, I've heard people talk about like, don't send people energy because it goes against their free will. And that's why I say workaround, because whatever fear in that part of the collective thought process I identify as a fear, potentially in the person that's feels that way. I don't have that fear. And so I'm here to spread honor and integrity, but also to fulfill the callings of my missions, which are many. And so sending golden light to someone's outer shell is not a problem for me. And I do it often enough that it's no longer a conscious thought to stop the energy like from going too far. It's just like it just becomes the process of what is. When you hold that the frequency of your intention, and it doesn't even have to be with words, you're holding the feeling of it, the feeling of, and you can feel it in your body. When you get really good at it, you can start to feel things moving around and you can identify it as different emotions that live inside of you, which circles us back to the fractalized being of the system, how where everyone is a reflection of us. Those moments where we're not sure where to send honor get to become the reflective moments that we can see within ourselves where we're not ready to honor that part in ourselves. And I guess what I learned this morning is that even on the subtle unconscious levels of the playing, I'm going to call it the playing field because this is where I play. Even that could be taken different ways, but just for clarity's sake, I do not exist on the competitive levels of thought form. Like, I feel like some people, when they say playing field, they're very much, there are a segment of people that are tuned to the frequency of competitive sports, and they bring that into their daily existence. And sometimes that in itself creates resistance. Maybe, I don't know if that in itself is the right way to say that, but there's like a whole paradigm of, I think, emotions that swirl like in this sector or category, whatever you want to call it. Okay, competition. Competition and lack go hand in hand, by the way. But getting someone to realize that you don't operate on that paradigm while they're so deeply rooted in that paradigm is not an easy feat. And I say feat for a reason. I was going to say an easy task. Tasks live in a whole different family, I think, than feats. Feats. This one's a feat. Maybe on a higher level, I'm passionate about this because it's about being understood and being acknowledged in your truth. for the truth that it is, not as a distortion of someone else's perception of what you are. I think that's probably the most deeply rooted thing that drives my existence is truth and honor in that authenticity. Which was part of the reason it was so difficult for me to work with this person. And especially with the power hierarchy the way that it was. It was a really interesting relationship and it created some interesting dynamics that got to be a really interesting witnessing an observation project, if you will. But it all ties into the story of resolving the paradigms of psychopathology and narcissistic behaviors. And there's like a handful of things that live in this cluster that is definitely a special ops project that a number of us took on because it's so big. The way to get to the end game solution is big. And so it requires a strong team. And I'm absolutely honored to be on the team that's working on this. I haven't seen this person in more than 2 years. And there's been a fair amount of healing and clearing that's gone into the interim. But today I learned that the collective is ready to stand with honor above all else. And what an amazing moment. So we performed a really interesting impromptu energetic clearing on, let's call it the land, the geographical location that I'm in right now, and that we're in. We'll say that we're in. And as we lean into our multidimensionality and allow that clearing to extend and expand into all layers of our existence. Through all time, space, dimensions, and realities. All time, space, dimension, and realities. I'm here. All of me is here. I am now. All of me is now. I forgive myself and I forgive all of creation as we stand in harmony together, united in love. And wholeness. I don't know about you, but it feels so good to me. Bridging gaps with unconditional love. From the heart of the turtle. Oh, to infinity and beyond. And everywhere in between. We are the golden light of unity consciousness. No matter what. I don't know if that's sufficiently, if this transmission has sufficiently introduced this channel or the show. But I think it's a great nugget for today. It's 77 degrees outside, and I think it's time for a quick walk as we anchor in this story. Within our infinite love collective, through all time and space. For eternity. And stay tuned for many more stories of our interdimensional travels, explorations, adventures. We're sending you so much love and light and infinite grace and wisdom and truth and trust and enlightenment for your path, anchored into your own personal divine sovereignty. This channel is here to discuss these topics of our multidimensionality and the stories that we bring here. And bring us together as one turtle, one infinite turtle. Thanks, turtle friends.